Welcome to VGK Today, presented by MGM Rewards, a daily podcast bringing you an inside look at the Vegas Golden Knights' 2023 Stanley Cup playoff run. I'm Justin Russo with the Golden Knights on Tuesday, May 16th, and the team is back in Vegas after taking yesterday to travel home from Edmonton after securing the second-round win in Game 6 and heading on to the Western Conference Final. Now, yesterday we were unsure of who the Vegas Golden Knights would play in the Western Conference Final because last night there was a Game 7 between the Dallas Stars and the Seattle Kraken, and now we have our answer as the Dallas Stars at home defeat the Seattle Kraken in Game 7, and they will be the opponent for the Vegas Golden Knights in the Western Conference Final. And we also now have the dates and the times for the games in the Western Conference Final, and it'll start on Friday at 5:30 Pacific Time at the Fortress. Game 1 between the Stars and the Golden Knights. So we have our start time for this series. Again, Friday at 5:30 is Game 1. Game 2, also at home, will be Sunday at noon. So an afternoon game for the VGK in Game 2. And then the two on the road in Dallas will be Tuesday the 23rd and Thursday the 25th, both at 5 o'clock Pacific time. So that's the dates and the times of the first four games of the Western Conference Final for the Vegas Golden Knights against the Dallas Stars team that they have experience with in the postseason. Played the Dallas Stars in the bubble, if you remember, in the Western Conference Final that year. Unfortunately, Vegas unable to claim the victory. Dallas going on to the Stanley Cup Final before they eventually lost to the Tampa Bay Lightning. But for the Vegas Golden Knights, storylines are starting to build already in this series, of course, not only because of that previous matchup between these two teams in the Western Conference Final, but the head coach, the guy behind the bench for the Dallas Stars, Pete DeBoer, former Vegas Golden Knights coach, he gets an opportunity to play against his former team and vice versa with the Golden Knights taking on their former head coach. So it should be an interesting dynamic there. Of course, this season against the Dallas Stars, the Vegas Golden Knights went 0-1-2. They lost at home 4-0 on January 16th, lost in a shootout at home 3-2, and then 2-1 in a shootout in Dallas on April 8th. So the Golden Knights not finding a lot of success against this Dallas Stars team in the regular season, but we'll see if the VGK can turn things around in the postseason, and you never know what can happen in the postseason. So let's see if the VGK can carry the momentum that they've built through the first couple of series, start strong against Dallas, and end up winning that series to hopefully move on to the Stanley Cup Final. And one of the reasons that Vegas is in this position right now, of course, is because of their strong Game 6 against the Edmonton Oilers, and really in part to Jonathan Marchessault, who had a natural hat trick in Game 6 coming in the span of just around 14 minutes of time in the second period, taking Vegas from a 1-goal deficit to a 2-goal lead, and vaulting them to a win in Game 6 and the series against the Edmonton Oilers. And for Jonathan Marchessault, really, we had felt that there was going to be an explosion for Jonathan at some point in this postseason. He had been playing so well, was unable to get on the score sheet in terms of scoring a goal in that first series against Winnipeg, and against Edmonton, really turned things on for the Vegas Golden Knights. Of course, had that hat trick in Game 6 to help the Golden Knights win, but for Jonathan Marchessault, 8 points overall in that series, and specifically the last two games is really where he turned it on. 3 assists in Game 5, 3 goals in Game 6. So 6 points over the final 2 games of the series against the Oilers for Jonathan. A huge part of why the Golden Knights were able to get wins in each of those games and come out on top of the Edmonton Oilers in the second round of the postseason. And fresh off such a strong performance from Jonathan Marchessault, Ashali Vise took some time to sit down with him just before the team left from Edmonton to come back here to Vegas.
Jonathan, first, what did the post-game celebrations entail last night?
Obviously everybody was pretty happy with the game. Obviously we're in Edmonton on a Sunday, so we stayed all together at the hotel and just had a few drinks, a couple of the boys, and played cards, and it was a good night.
It's the 4th time as a Vegas Golden Knight that you've made it to the Western Conference Final, but what's different about this group?
I think the chemistry we have off the ice, the fun that we have. There's not one meal that we don't have a giggle about something. So it's been definitely a blast this year, but we're just halfway through our goal here.
So when you ask people who keeps it light, who keeps it fun, who creates those giggles, a lot of people say it's you. So which of your teammates would you say who's someone that maybe doesn't get enough credit for how light they keep things?
You got to think that Jack is up there, Stevie, Naber. We have a lot of funny guys on the team, and when you have characters like Phil Kessel and Paul Cotter, they're just so funny, and obviously we have a lot of fun with the guys.
You mentioned both Jack and Phil there. You sit a little ways up on the plane with Jack, Phil, and Braden McNabb. What does this 2-hour and 51-minute plane ride look like for the four of you?
I mean, I have a good time every time. Phil probably doesn't say the same thing. His mood changes by his performance at cards, but I mean, it's definitely a lot of fun, and it's entertaining.
Who do you take the most money from?
I gotta say, it's Jack for sure. He's just a great donor at that table, and he's it's a tough table to win. And I know me and Nabber have been there for 6 years, so we've seen it. We see a lot of guys go through it, but yeah, it's just we're just good players, I guess.
Would Jack agree with that, or what would his reaction be?
He would definitely 100% agree with that, because the book doesn't lie. So. Yeah, he would be he's disappointed every time, but he always says, I'm just here for the good time.
As you talk about how close the group is, I want to go back to one of the earliest relationships you've had on this team, William Karlsson, with Mother's Day yesterday. What's it been like to watch him become a dad?
Yeah, I mean, it's quite funny because me and Riley were like, oh, your life is changing. He's like, no, my baby's going to be the easiest, and he says stuff like that, so it's funny, but he's going to get a little reality check this week, I guess. He's going to get more times on his end and spend a lot of time with his family. So good for him. And, I mean, it just changes for the best.
How cool has it been to see so many of your teammates become first-time dads in just a short time period?
Yeah, it's awesome. I mean, everybody goes through it, right? So at some point. So I was really happy to see that everybody is doing great, too, like healthy babies, healthy moms, healthy birth, and all that. So good for them, and obviously they're gonna have a great time going forward with it, and yeah, really happy for them.
So you go home to your wife and children this evening. You're also going to find out who you play next round based on the game this evening. Will you watch that game, and if so, how do you enjoy a hockey game like that as you watch the other rounds?
Yeah, you know what? I'll keep an eye on it for sure. I'll put it in the background. Yeah, I definitely I'm a fan of hockey first, so I definitely enjoy watching some playoff hockey. It's the best hockey in the world, and I mean, we're gonna see who steps up at the occasion here, and it's gonna be a good match for sure.
Well, Jonathan, congrats on making it to yet another conference final, and take it easy on Jack up there, okay?
Okay, I will. Thank you.
Well, I love that Jack Eichel has become the donor at that guard stable on the VGK team plane as they bounce around and travel from game to game. And, Jonathan Marchessault would love to keep Jack at that table. It seems like he's doing financially pretty well because of Jack's presence there. But those guys obviously have a great time with each other. The group as a whole has talked a lot about the chemistry that they have with each other. And even after Game 6, Alec Martinez, in his post-game interview with Dan Duva and Gary Lawless, that was a lot of what he talked about, talking about how this team has chemistry. They just really love coming to work every day. They love being around each other. And he said that Bruce Cassidy was the one that even told him that and recognized it even from the outside as the coach, just recognizing that these guys just have a great bond all throughout. And Marchessault and some of the older original Golden Knights have even said in previous times this season that it does feel like that first season. It's starting to feel like that, where they just genuinely love to be around each other. They love coming to the rink, and everyone gets along. So no surprise there to see that on the team plane, the guys keep it going. And as Marchessault said, they always find a way to have a giggle about something, which is just great to hear, because at the end of the day, you got to have that team chemistry. And when you're thrown into the fire in the playoffs, sometimes things aren't going your way. It's good to have those bonds and be close and tight-knit with each other, to have that trust with each other to then go out and perform on the ice. So great to hear there from Jonathan Marchessault. And for as good as Jonathan Marchessault was in Game 6, a lot of his teammates and his coach even giving him some praise about that. So we'll take a listen now to what Jack Eichel and head coach Bruce Cassidy had to say about their star player in Game 6 with a natural hat trick to send the Golden Knights to the Western Conference Final.
Yeah, I mean, he had a huge series. He had a huge night tonight, obviously. Going to the net, finding ways to score goals. It's awesome to see, and well-deserved.
Jonathan Marchessault made some timely goals. He's done that for 6 years here. I'm curious, as you've gotten to know him over the year, coaching him, seeing him every day, is there anything about him or the way he prepares that allows him to come up in these big moments regularly?
Well, I'm learning that, right? That's what, we get behind closed doors after. Like, there's Marshy again. Well, I don't know the entire history. I mean, I delved into it and read up on it, but I haven't seen it with my own eyes. And I think Marshy his game is about halfway through the playoffs realized that it's not just going to be on a tee for him, so to speak, those type of goals or odd man rushes. He has to get inside. And so he does up here. I think it was you lose track, right? Maybe it was game 3, right? He goes inside, drives the net. Jack finds him, hangs around the front of the net. Tonight, how does he score again? Hangs around the front of the net. So Marshy's learned that now. And he had a couple chances before that as well. So now he's mixing his chances on going to the front of the net. On the power play, we've moved him to an elbow. We're trying to get the puck to him, so he's getting a lot more looks. So I think that makes goal scorers, they start feeling it a little bit the more reps they get. So that's the one switch we made to try to get him going. He's done a good job with it. And I think Jack will find and Barbie are good complements for him. So when they're on, they're dangerous because all three, I think, have different elements to their game that can hurt you. So good for him. We're going to have to hear it for about the next 4 or 5 days. That's the unfortunate part, but we'll live with that. And you know what I'm talking about.
Jonathan Marchessault never shy to let his teammates know how he's feeling, and of course has the right to boast a little bit after 3 goals against the Edmonton Oilers in Game 6 to help the Knights move on to the Western Conference Final. And a couple of notes from Marchessault now. He has reclaimed that VGK career playoff goal lead. He had been tied with Mark Stone at 23. He is now at 26 goals. William Karlsson not far behind in third with 21 career playoff goals for the VGK. And Marchessault with the first 3-goal period in Golden Knights playoff history. It's the 4th hat trick overall. He had another one in 2021 against the Colorado Avalanche. Mark Stone and Matthias Janmark with the other 2, but Marchessault the first one to do it in a single period. So Jonathan with a pretty neat stat there, 3 goals in the second period of Game 6, and he is standing alone when it comes to that. Only player in Golden Knights playoff history to do that. So Jonathan with a nice feat. We'll see if he can keep things going. He has slowly but surely ramped things up in this postseason, getting better and better with each game, it seems. And we'll hope we can get peak Jonathan Marchessault as the Golden Knights take on the Dallas Stars in the Western Conference Final. We hope we get you down at the Fortress for Games 1 and 2 of the Western Conference Final. Of course, a limited number of single-game tickets are still available for Games 1 and 2 of the Western Conference Final. Game 1 at 5:30 on Friday. Game 2 at noon on Sunday. So get your tickets at VegasGoldenKnights.com. If you want to go down to the Fortress and see the Golden Knights take on the Dallas Stars with a trip to the Stanley Cup Final on the line. Golden Knights looking to make it to their 2nd Stanley Cup Final in team history. So it'd be a big series for the Golden Knights, and they're certainly going to need all the fan support they can get at those home games at the Fortress. So come down to Games 1 and 2 of the Western Conference Final. I'll also take a moment to remind you to subscribe wherever you get your podcasts so you don't miss a moment of the team's quest for the Stanley Cup right here on VGK Today. Tomorrow, Darren Millard is back on the show as we have a full week of preparation to get ready for the Vegas Golden Knights and the Dallas Stars in the Western Conference Final. Justin Russo signing off for episode 30 of VGK Today, presented by MGM Rewards.